Not my usual forte in this video, but still I need to learn this, and that is soldering. Now I've got a solder iron, this thing. In all honesty, don't know how to use it. I have the hardest task in just trying to put a motor wire to a motor after all these years. Someone told me I needed something called flux, which I did have, this stuff. I used to get my solder iron, dip it in the flux, and then try putting my wires together, and then still wondered why it never worked. So I just give up on the whole idea completely. And basically, all I use this solder iron for is if I have some nuts or bolts which are heavily thread locked and I cannot get them out for toffee with a screwdriver or anything, then I just heat up them nuts with the solder iron. I want to learn to solder because with the trucks and electronics, you can buy everything which is all pre-wired, which is all well and good. I can do that because the wires already come with the resistors. Then you just end up with just all this unnecessary bloody rolls of cable lying everywhere around your truck. Making my own light bar strips, if you will, or the LED bulbs to go in the bars rather than having a wire, for example. I don't think I have anything time to show you, but for example, I put a light bar on this roof now, and a lot of the time you'll have one wire coming from that bulb, one from that, and so on, and you literally have a wire for every bulb. All them additional holes as well. I don't do wiring mess. To eliminate the wiring mess wasn't just as simple as buying this little cheap £8.99 60-watt solder iron kit off of Amazon or eBay, whichever. Very cheap. The reviews were good to get me going. I thought this is an ideal starter. I'm not bothered about these solder irons with all this and that and comes with a nuclear power station. I just want to start off simple. Oh, and some flux. I ordered some flux. It's like liquid flux. You go on Google, everyone says you want this, you want that, you want the other. I just ordered that because it's just electronic flux or whatever. I'll learn all this though as time goes on. So I originally thought if I got a solder iron, some wire and bulbs and stuff like that, you would just solder the bulbs together, put them to a wire and a plug and plug them in. And it doesn't work like that. So I've had to go back to school. Now kids, if you're watching this, stay in school. I had to kind of get my head around resistors and stuff because apparently you don't just add a resistor and there is a formula. I've figured this formula out. I'm not going to explain it. I barely understand it myself. I've only just got the gist of it. I am in no way capable of teaching or showing you guys how to solder. I just thought it'd be fun learning with me how to solder. The formula. Anyway, I figured it out to get the correct resistance to work out like what ohms or whatever it is. I'm not sure. It's something to do with Ohm's law. I'm not particularly interested. I just need the basics for what I need. Yeah, I figured that out. So now I could put a bulb on. Once I've learned to solder, of course, I would be able to wire in a bulb and the correct resistor and plug that in to whatever power supply I'm using. So I use LiPos in all my stuff. I calculate from that to get my resistance, which is all well and good. That's going fine. Until after all this time, weeks of just racking my head, watching videos, how to just figure this out, because that's rocket science. That genuinely is rocket science. I will be putting an application in with Elon Musk. I started to do the math for a light bar for 5 LEDs. My total amperage voltage of the LEDs came to more than my power supply. And then I come across wiring in parallel. So I'm thinking the best way to wire stuff is learning to wire in parallel or solder in parallel or whatever. That's another formula that I now have to learn, because the formula that I have learned is good for 1 LED, 2 LED. Figured out for 1 or 2 LEDs. Really happy I figured that formula out. Like I say, many nights, many days of just reading and watching, and just until I figured it out and the penny dropped and it all clicked. But in this thing, you get the actual, I have not even had it out yet, so I don't know what I'm doing with it. Like I say, we'll learn together. But there's a solder iron with a on-off switch, whereas my other one didn't have that. It's got like a temperature thing there, can adjust the temperature. So maybe, I don't know. I just thought they pumped out one temperature and each like what iron was a certain temperature iron. I think that's like a wire cutter thing, some tools. Oh no, they're not. There might be some replacement solder iron tips or something looking at them. I thought they were like little screwdrivers, but they're not. A little test tube with some wire in it. I'm assuming that's solder. A couple of nuts and a spring. Some tweezers. They'll be ideal for putting decals on and stuff. That. Some wire. Some packaging or something. I got a clue. Oh, wait. I got a clue what this is. It's just to like put icing on a cake or something. And it comes in this case. I just had a quick look over the photos on my purchase, and this is in there. So that's a stand, and then it had this yellow thing just in there. My other one, I just used to have to rest on side at table and hope it didn't fall on my leg. So I've got a couple of old plugs that have been cut off stuff. These will be just perfect, I suppose, for a bit of practice. So I presume what we're going to do is just put the wires together, but not wrap them. Possibly just so they're touching, maybe. I don't know. There's some solder here that I got with it, and I have this solder here. If you want to win one of these, but the grand older version, this particular one, brand new kit in the box, then head over to raffle, £1 a ticket, and this could be yours. But a friend told me you need to put this flux stuff on the wires first. And then he said, when you take the solder, it'll run off onto the wire. This is set at 350 degrees. It does go up to 450. Oh, it melted. And it just stays on my solder iron. Hey, that just come off the solder iron. Do I need more flux? Oops, I'm spilling it everywhere. Let's just put loads of that on there. Let's crank up this solder iron a little bit to 400. I haven't put heat shrink tubing over. I'm just practicing. It's not official yet. Yeah, this ain't working, is it? My solder iron's going like blue on the end. Is that normal? They're still not sticking together. Oh, it just come apart. I had it a little bit then. See if I can't spread this solder over that solder. I really don't get this. How hard is it to just get one wire to stick to another wire? If I can't do this, I can't do that, can I? So I've got to learn this. Ooh. Right, that time I kind of ran it along the wire and it kind of just spread with it. And I think, yay, it's only a little join, but I got him to stick. I like this. I'm guessing like the solder and solder iron and stuff that you're using, or flux or whatever for certain things, probably plays a bit of a role depending on what you're doing. So I've just learned what this slice of cheese is. Apparently it's for my solder iron, and I have to do this to remove any excess flux and solder to keep my solder iron working efficiently. I love that sizzling sound. And all these different tips. In fact, this one's smaller than that one. I wonder if I'd be better with a smaller one. Let's just and learn to stick these wires together. So I've just done the black one. How I managed to get that one to stick on the last go by just running it off. Oh, I thought I had it. So do I add more flux now? Do I just pour the whole bottle on it, hope for the best? It's going to take a little while to learn, I think. I suppose you're either good at it or you're not. Every day's a school day. Every day. Whew, that stinks, this stuff. I think I just nailed it. Do you use these sponges while it's hot and sizzling, or is this just knackering the solder iron? Yes. Buddy! Come here, pal! Look, I've done it. I've done it. Yes, Pooch! We done it, we can solder, lad! Yes! Yes, success! Woohoo! Yeah! Stay away from me, pal. There's a hot solder iron there. Yes! Yes, yes. Look at this. It's not the greatest compared to that one where there's big blobs on it and it's barely holding together, but that one's not too bad. So I've just got some different wires now just to see if I can't nail these two first time. If I was watching like a how-to video on this, or pretty much anything on YouTube, everyone speaks in just like real technical jargon. And like with the soldering, they'll have all these scientific words and this and that and everything else. That'll have a special name, and I'm a simple person, just like simple layman terms. Like, that's just a thingamabob. But telling me it's some nuclear warhead that's about to obliterate because of 1 decimal point of this causing that reaction to it, it's a thingamabob. A little bit of flukes. Solder. The flux. I'm going to melt that, and now it's running onto the flux. And I can just spread that over our little joint there. I've done it. I've done it again. I'm getting the knack of soldering wires. So there isn't like instructions on it to follow this flux. There is some warning symbols on there, like flammable, that, and I don't like the look of that bottom one. That bottom one looks pretty serious to me. Are you meant to actually like twist the wires together? Because these I am like trying to solder it without twisting the wires together and stuff. Probably not the greatest, but with some practice. Remember, that would be covered with heat shrink as well. Yeah, the first one's are kind of big blobs. That one's a lot more neater. A little bit of wire hanging out there, but like I say, them two with some heat shrink on, I think they'd be pretty good solders. Probably go back now and learn like an ideal temperature for this. Like I said, I had this set at around 300 to 350. There's like a mark in between, so 325. Is that hot enough? The solder was melting, but it had to be on there for a little bit before it actually like melted. This slice of cheese, am I using the cheese right? Do you just give it a wipe after every little turn? The flux, do you apply it to the wires before applying the solder? It seems that worked compared to how I've ever soldered in the past by dipping the solder iron in the flux. Recommended solder. The tips, figured they're solder tips. Is there any specific tip, or is the tip I'm using alright? Wire cutters, figured them out. Tweezers and an icing thing for some icing. I could actually have this as a grease gun and just fill it with grease, couldn't I? Does this open? Soldering, not my thing. Want to learn it, need to learn it, so I can put my little bulbs together in series or parallel, whichever ones. I can figure that out, learn to solder, and then I can start reducing wires on future trucks and things like that. And I'll be able to do my own motor wires and change my battery plugs now and not send them like to Dave or someone and yeah, how can you do that for me, pal? So yeah, a bit of a random one. I suppose it's just a case of keep practicing and just keep doing it, innit? Be a lesson to everyone for the day. Just keep going. So, if you liked it, give it a like. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe, comment, all that. And I shall catch you in the next one. Ciao for now, guys. Did I turn this off? Off. Okay.